You know what's something that I've been doing more lately? I've been reading more. Now, I would love to have some like dramatic backstory why I suddenly started doing this. Like something absolutely crazy happened, but sadly, it's not. It's extremely boring. I was just sitting down playing games that I just had a sudden realization like, wow, I don't really read that much. I should read some more. And basically by that much, I mean like actual books, because the most bulk of my reading for a very long time has basically just been manga. I read a lot of manga, and I'll finish like whole manga series in like 2 to 3 days if I could just really sit down and do it. And I do that a lot. I've been mowing through so much manga, especially now since I'm trying to find the worst manga. My reading has basically just increased 2 times more. During like when I'm just reading tons of it, I kind of realized that I kind of want to read more than just manga. You know, I kind of want to like diverse my branch of reading and maybe read something like a light novel or something like that. And I guess if visual novel counts, because back then in my really lonely days, I used to play a ton of visual novels because, you know, that's pretty much the only target audience are just people who have absolutely no friends, and like your girlfriend is just a simulation. There's just no way that happened. You read a bunch of visual novels and you read the English text because most visual novels are voice acted in Japanese, and they don't really care enough to get it dubbed because they usually don't have a big enough audience, because the visual novel community is extremely small, which 100% makes sense because most visual novels are extremely boring and extremely cookie cutter. Like they literally do the same thing over and over again and copy and paste it. But you know what? Me talking about the whole rabbit hole of just bad visual novels, that will be, well, I wouldn't necessarily say bad, but just visual novels in general, that will be a video for another day. Because today, you have probably read the title of this video, unless I changed it. I want to talk about lore. Now, one reason why I want to talk about this is because in my search to read more, one thing that I actually want to do is read every single lore book in Destiny 2. And I actually read it. Not doing what most people do where you will watch like a YouTuber and he say it for you. No, I wanted to get every single book, open it, and read it myself. And I've actually been doing pretty good as I've completely read all of the like light books, which I know for people who don't play Destiny, I'm just absolutely making no sense. But basically in the Destiny lore, it's like split up into 3 different sections of stories. Now it's split up into 4, but that doesn't matter. And I basically read one whole section, which have a lot of lore books in it, which means I've been doing a lot of reading. And this whole thing has just made me think about this lore in general and just how games do it. Now, how I think the proper way and the good way to put lore in video games is that it's kind of like an extension to learn more about the world, but it's literally not mandatory. Like one game series that I think used to do lore good used to be like Halo. Halo are the trilogy of games that you can play, especially Halo 1, 2, 3. You don't need to know anything about the lore, you don't need to read any of the books, and you don't even need to know that it even exists. All you need to do is play the game and you can basically get a full aspect of the story. But if you want to learn a little bit more about the game, you get to go and like read the lore and see what's going on. And I usually think that's a good way to describe it. But then we have a other subsection of lore, which is something that I see even more, where it's basically all your stories in the lore. Now, one thing that I always say is that if you read lore in Destiny, it makes you hate the games, because Destiny has this problem where all of the best stories are literally in lore. I recommend people who don't even play Destiny to read the Destiny 2 lore. I recommend literally everyone to do that because it's absolutely amazing. They generally tell some extremely good and amazing stories. You don't even need to play the games at all. These are kind of like their own separate stories, and they're stories that you can just go in, learn like a little bit about the world, and you will just go and enjoy it. It's generally a good read, and you will read them because I told you to, and they're extremely good. But I generally think it's bad because, again, a good bulk of the story is in the lore, and it was like that for a very long time of the franchise until recently now, where now you can actually like play the game and you get to know a lot about the world, and you don't need to go on like a completely separate website, or you need to go and like read lore tabs to actually know what's going on. And I think another game that does this is Dark Souls. Now I know this is something like extremely weird to say, because one thing that I think is confusing, Destiny got literally laughed at for an extremely long time for the game basically having no story and all the story having to be inside of lore tabs, which I agree. I think that's 100% dumb. And especially in Destiny 1 where you had to go on a completely different website, when literally Dark Souls does the same thing. Now, Dark Souls does not have lore on a completely different website, but if it wasn't for Dark Souls lore YouTubers, most people have absolutely no clue what's going on at all. Especially me. When I play Dark Souls games, I literally don't play these games for the story because I generally do not know what's going on. I don't know why this dude is here. I don't know what's even going on. I don't even know what I'm doing, except from the base things that some people will tell you. In Dark Souls 1, you will know that like, oh, you're the chosen undead, and in Dark Souls 3, you will know that you're like, what is it? The man who's supposed to lit the flame. I never played Dark Souls 2, so I don't know anything about it. But see, the only Dark Souls game I could truly understand, and that is Dark Souls 3. Not because I watched lore videos on it, because back in the day, I tried to flawless Dark Souls 3 to get a girlfriend. I used to think that if I 100% flawless this game, maybe some gamer girl will actually like me, but I don't feel like getting into that. So I have played that game literally so much times that I could basically know the story from the back of my head from just reading lore that I picked up on the ground. But I guess that's another reason why some people like it, because they like connecting the puzzles of it, of just you picking up all these items over and over again, and you're finally learning what's going on. You can finally see a story of it. But I think lore has kind of gone down in games because I feel like every single game is doing the same thing to portray the backstory of it, and that's literally just audio tapes. I think I am a lot of people are absolutely sick of this cliche where you just go in any type of game world and there's just random audio tapes laying around everywhere that just suddenly tells you a story. You just suddenly know what's going on, especially audio tapes where it shows something terrible happening to someone. Every single horror game has done this, where it'll be like some scientist or just insert anyone there. They will talk in an audio tape all super duper scared, and then out of nowhere a monster will come and chase him. But the audio tape ends and it's not destroyed. Like perfectly, all the time. Something bad happens and this audio tape is perfectly safe. And especially even more goofier if they're doing something like it's on a computer file. Like you're literally telling me something bad happened to this dude and he was able to click the audio tape, save it, upload it to the computer while he was getting like chased by a monster or something. They're running down the hallway and he just had time to do this before insert something bad happened to him. I absolutely just think it's crazy. But it does make sense why games do this, because this is literally like the easiest way to portray the story. But yeah, this is something that I wanted to talk about. My journey of actually reading more stories. And it's just something that I wanted to share. Anyway, my name is Lua. You have a good day or night. See ya.